Hey guys, welcome to another video on the Frsky Series, and today's topic is firmware updates. I believe a new version of firmware came out for this radio, so I'm going to go ahead and download it in. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm also going to go through the process of updating your receivers and maybe some sensors that you have. So let's get started. So this radio, let's go ahead and take a look and see what it's on right now. So if we go into System, I'm going to use the center button to page over to the next page and go to Info. And it looks like I'm on 148, and I believe it's on 149, which is the latest version. So the first thing you're going to have to do is go into your computer. So let's go ahead and go to the computer right now. I'm going to go to Chrome. And if you don't have it already, go ahead and download it now, which is Ethos Suite. And probably the easiest way to do it is, I already have it since I went to it recently, is Ethos Frsky in the Google search. And the first one it comes up with is ethos.frsky-rc.com, and that's what you want to do. And this is the Ethos web page for Frsky. So if we come down here and let's look over here at the bottom, it says Ethos Suite, and there it is. So you want to go ahead and download this. Mine's already on the computer, so I don't have to do it. But if you do need to do it, this is where to get it. Just go ahead and download either Windows or Mac, and then we'll continue on. All right, so let's just say that part is done. The next thing that we got to do is we got to go ahead and let's actually go into Ethos Suite, and then we'll power up the radio afterwards since we're already here. Okay, let me go ahead and maximize this. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go out, power down my radio. I'm going to hold the center of the jog button right here, hold that down, and then I'm going to tap the power button. This will put it into the bootloader mode. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hook up my USB for my computer into my radio. All right, so let's take a look at Ethos Suite really quick. I'm going to close these just popped up. All right, the first thing that you're going to see is this first use guide when you open up the Ethos Suite. And take a look at your radio in bootloader mode. And in the top corner, there's a version number. And if the version number is newer than 1210, which mine is, then you can continue on. If it's older than that, then you got to go through this and use the DFU flasher, which is down here at the side. Okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm pretty sure that most radios shipped nowadays are newer than this. But if you do need to do that, there might be some tutorials on the web on how to do that. It's a little bit hard of a process to do that, but this is relatively easy. So if you are newer than 1210, then you can continue on and do what I'm talking about. All right, so the first thing that you want to do is you want to go over here to Ethos. Okay, so it goes, this will say what your radio is. So for example, if I had an X20 plugged in here, it would say radio X20S. Since I have the XE plugged in, it says XES, and then now you go in here. Once you go to Ethos and you look over here, now it shows you what is out of date over here and what you need to update. So let's go, we're going to go ahead and do that, but before you do, go over to Model Manager, which is the one below it. Back up your radio. We're going to go ahead and back this up. So I already have a backup location. You can set a backup location by using this over here. And I have one called Frsky XE so that I know that my backups are correct. So I'm going to go ahead and back up. And what do I want to back up? I want to back up everything. And back up. Okay, so that creates a file with all your models, all your sounds, everything that's on your setups, everything else. So it's a good idea to do a backup before you start doing your update, just in case. All right, that took a while. Backup is complete. All right, once backup is over, then you can come over here and go to the Ethos tab and make sure that your language is, and here you can choose your version. You just want to choose the latest one, but if you need to, for some reason, go back in version, you can. But of course, I want the latest file. My language is English, and write outdated components. Okay, there we go. That's it. You're done. So let's close out of this. And now I'm going to go and I'm going to disconnect my USB. One more. Okay. All right, back to the radio. All right, back to the radio. Okay, so let's go ahead and disconnect. Power off. Power back on, and we'll confirm that we are now at
Welcome to Ethos.
The right version. So I'm going to go into System, go to the next page, click on Info, and there it is, 1.49. And that's it. That is how you update your radio. Let's double check and make sure that my models are still there. And they are. All right. So everything is good. That's it. A very easy process. I do believe that you do want to keep your radio updated, especially with this operating system. They seem to do a lot of improvements. So especially if you're a power user and you use a lot of its functions, there's going to be more functionality with each version of software. All right, guys, we're going to move on and do something else. All right, guys, moving on. So now I've got my TDR6 receiver over here, and we're going to go through the process of updating the firmware on it. I believe it is on the latest version of software. I don't think they did anything new, but we're going to double check anyways. But this is the process that you need to do. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to Frsky's website. So Frsky-RC. There it goes. That took a while. And then we're going to go into the receiver page. So this particular case, it's a TD receiver, and I believe the process I'm going to show you will work on TD and access receivers. What's nice is you just do it through your radio. It makes it nice and easy. So I'm going to go over here and go to receivers. I'm going to go to the tandem series over here. And there's the TDR6. Let's go ahead and click on that. Now, over here, you've got a item called download. So we're going to go to the download page, and you want to go into firmware and look for the latest version of software and download it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and download it. And it'll come up with a zip file. You'll have to unzip it. We're going to go ahead and go through that now. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up my file manager and go to downloads, and there it is. So if you double click on that, then you have a thing called extract. And I already did this, so I'm not going to do it, but go ahead and extract all and put it somewhere. So I put my, I'll go to documents, I put my my firmware stuff in under documents, and I just made a folder called Frsky Firmware. And I just went ahead and downloaded what I wanted to, and and did it. So okay, so once you have it downloaded into your computer, you need to put these files, or the files that you downloaded, into your radio. So we're going to go ahead and go through that process now. Let's go back to the transmitter. I'm going to power off.
Receiver is still on.
And disconnect this receiver, actually. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and power on in bootloader mode, which is pressing down the center button over here and tapping the power button. Okay, once I do that, let's go ahead and plug in. There it goes. All right, what I did was in my main radio drive, which is the E drive that has all your files on it, it's like audio, bitmaps, logs, model scripts, etc. So with this one over here, I just created a folder called Firmware Updates. And I went ahead and put my firmware in there. So once you do that, once it's in your computer, or I'm sorry, once it's in your transmitter, then you're ready to go. So let's go ahead and go through the process. Just go ahead and copy from where you had it into those folders. So I'm going to disconnect. Now I'm going to go ahead and power off, power back on.
Welcome to Ethos. Failsafe not set.
Okay, now if we go into System over here and go into File Manager and go into that firmware updates that we created, and I created a subfolder called Receivers, and there it is over there. So there's the firmware. All right, so the next thing to do then is let's go ahead and go into that firmware that we wanted to do. It's 1.09, and then I want to go and click on the actual file, which is the .frsky file, and it gives me some options. Okay, so flash external device, flash RX via internal over-the-air, external over-air, copy or move. So we can either flash an external device or do an over-the-air. We want to do an over-the-air. And what they mean by internal or external is if you're using the internal RF module or the external one. So in this case, on a Tandem is built in, we're going to do internal. So you go ahead and click on that, and now it's waiting for receiver. Plug in your receiver, and it starts looking for it. It found it. Click on it. So my current version is 1.09, but do I want to update? Yes. There it goes. So what's really nice about this is you can do this with it still hooked up to your plane. So if you want to do an update on your receivers, I believe the Tandem series and the Access series allow you to do over-the-air updates, which makes it very, very simple. On ACCST receivers, you can do an update, but you have to do it via S-port. All right, there it goes. So the flashing is done. Close it.
Telemetry lost.
So it had 1.09 in it, and I flashed 1.09, but that's the process. All right, so this is done, and it is flashed. Very easy. We're going to move on and do something else, so stand by. All right, guys. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a sensor. So sensors are actually flashed via the S-port over here. And the interesting thing is what you're doing is you're going to still use your transmitter to do the flash. You don't have to buy any external devices. Before, they used to have a tool and an external device that you had to plug into the USB. But now you can use S-port. And on your radio, you should have a connector right there. That looks like a servo connector. And we're going to use that to flash this. So like the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and go to the Frsky website again. And it's Frsky-RC.com. Now, we're going to have to go to sensors. So over here, there's a sensors one. I'm going to click on that. My computer is really slow today. There it goes. Okay, and now we're going to look for that sensor. This particular one is the FLVS Advanced ADV. This one's without screen, this one's with. Honestly, think the software is the same, but just to be sure. Same thing here is we're going to go to the download page. And we want the firmware. So it looks like 1.5, the first release is it. So it looks like I don't have to update this, but let's just go through the process. So let's go ahead and download this. And now it created a zip folder. Let's go ahead and unzip that one. Extract all. Extract. All right, so in here, let's go to downloads. It should appear right there. There's the zip version and there's the unzipped version. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Control copy. And I'm going to go ahead and place it in my firmware. And over here, let's go ahead, let's create a new, or actually here, let's just paste it. So let's paste. There it is. And there's my file. Now let's go ahead and put it onto the radio. So it's just to copy it into the radio. It's very, very simple. I'm going to go ahead and power off. Go into bootloader mode by holding down the center over there. And while I'm holding that down, tap the center, the power button. Once I do that, we're going to go ahead and hook up the USB. Okay, in here, there's firmware updates. This one's receivers. I'm going to create a new folder called sensors. So we're going to go ahead and new and folder and call it sensors. In this folder, Control V. And there it is. So I went ahead and I put the file or the folder for the voltage sensor into my radio. Once you do that, you're done with your radio or with your computer. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of all this. I'm going to go ahead and go to the computer and disconnect the USB. One more, eject. There it goes. And now we can disconnect. All right, so let's go ahead and power on the radio. Power off and then power back on.
Welcome to Ethos. Failsafe not set.
Okay, we're done with the computer. Now we're going to move on to the actual flashing. So let's confirm, first of all, that the file is in the radio. So I'm going to go over here to System, go over to File Manager, and go to the Firmware Updates folder that I created. And over here is Sensors, and there it is. So over here, the one with the .frsk, of course, is what you want. So what we need to do now is we need our sensor, and we need to hook it up. And if you look over here, it's negative, it's hooked up to black. And we need to hook it up to our radio. So what you want to do is you want to look over here, and there's that thing that kind of looks like a servo port right there. That's it. Now, the one with the, it's not really labeled, and I kind of wish it was, but the one that has that little divot coming out, that's signal. So that's where the yellow wire is. That's towards the yellow wire. So yellow wire on this side, and I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. Okay. All right, now that it's plugged in, we can go ahead and flash it. So what you do is you tap on that, and you look over here, it says Flash External Device. Click on that, device reset, and flashing. All right, there it goes. So that's it. It is now flashed, and we have an updated sensor. The process for ACC-ST receivers, I believe, is the same as doing this. You do it as you flash it using that port in the back, but I've never done it, so I can't really, say yes or no, but I believe for ACC-ST receivers it's that way. All right, guys, that's it. That's the process for updating firmware for a sensor, for a receiver, and your radio. So I hope this was of value to you guys, and if it was, please like and subscribe. Go ahead and comment if you want. And if you do want some more in-depth help or something, I'm more than happy to help you out. And you can email us at all.rc.air@gmail.com. And I do try to respond. I might not do it right away, but I will respond. Thank you guys very much, and have a good day.